Good morning, one and all. So in the previous class, we discussed regarding incidence of tax. I think you understood what is incidence of tax. So in the today's class, we are going to discuss exempted incomes. What are the exempted incomes and how many types of exempted incomes are there, and what income or which incomes comes under this section 10. And these exempted income I divide into parts. So today part 1 we are going to discuss. So you observe here exempted incomes. There are different types of incomes tax exemptions which comes under section 10 of the Income Tax Act, and it allows a list of exemptions which are available to taxpayer, both salaried as well as non-salaried individual. Okay, suppose you don't know what are the exempted incomes. By observing this class, you will get a little bit clarity regarding which incomes comes under exempted income here. Okay, here both salaried as well as non-salaried individuals, those who are earning income from different sources. Okay, according to these Income Tax Act 1961, certain provisions are there. Meanwhile, we are filing income tax returns. Okay, based on the income earned in the previous year, that is the financial year, from all the sources is taxed at a specified tax rate. Though the income is earned is taxable, the act allows us for different types of exemptions or lowering your taxable income. These exemptions allow specific incomes to be tax free in nature. As such, the exempted income is not added to your gross total income, which reduces your tax liability. Under section 10, there are different subsections that define what kind of income is exempted from tax. It includes agriculture income, house rent allowance, interest received through agriculture means, interest received through PPF, long-term capital gains, earned through shares and stocks, and much more subsections are there. You observe till end of my class, you will get some clarity. So income that is non-taxable is called exempted income, and tax-free income, we are going to say it is a complete tax-free income. The income which we earned on these different topics here, different sections, okay, different names, I mean to say different names like agriculture income, house rent allowance, interest received, agriculture means, interest received through PPF. I have chosen only little bit 3-4 names here, but in meanwhile you will get complete clarity regarding which exempted incomes are there. Okay, you observe carefully. Any income that an individual acquires or earns during the course of financial year that is deemed to be a non-taxable is referred to as exempt income. As per the Income Tax Act 1961, there are specific kinds of income that are exempted from the tax as well, as long as these types of income fulfill the guidelines and provisions outlined in the act. Certain guidelines, certain provisions, if we satisfied, or the income which we earned, if that is satisfied, then our incomes comes under exempted income under the different section, and that income should be treated as a tax-free income. Okay, the next one, section 10 contains various subsections which allow exemptions on different types of incomes. These exemptions can be claimed by the following types of assessees. They are individuals, salaried as well as non-salaried, in Hindu undivided families, trust, association of persons, body of individuals, companies, foreign companies. Okay, different subsections of section 10 allow different types of exemptions for different types of assessees of the Income Tax Act 1961. Okay, for all these persons, if they satisfy the guidelines and provisions according to the Income Tax Act 1961, then their income will be treated as exempt income, exempted income, we can say. The next here, you observe carefully, under section 10, most of the income that is exempted from the tax is allowed under these section, and these section is have some few subsections which comes under Income Tax Act 1961, what we are going to Okay, learn here, see, observe carefully. Then exemption under section 10, that is subsection 10 subsection 1 on agriculture income. If you earned any type of agriculture income, I'm reading the word here, any type of agriculture income in a financial year, such an income would be exempted from tax. That is, here agriculture income has defined under section 2 subsection 1A of Income Tax Act 1961, includes the following types of incomes. What are there? Here you observe carefully. Rent or revenue earned from a land located in India which is used for agriculture purpose. You are residing in foreign, suppose you have land in India. On that land you are getting some little bit revenue or rent. Okay, it is a complete tax-free income because you are getting from agriculture purpose only, from agriculture land only you are getting that revenue or rent. The next one here, income earned from an agriculture land located in India by doing agricultural activities. These agricultural activities also include processing of agricultural produce to make it fit for sale in the market. According to the market condition, you are preparing the product. Okay, you are producing the product, that is a agriculture product. On that you got a good income. That income completely a tax free and no need to show in the income tax and no need to pay any income tax to the government. Indirectly you are doing a welfare to the country. Okay, here income earned from a farmhouse provided specific conditions are fulfilled. If we fulfill some specific condition, then also it is also a exempted income. Moreover, here income earned from saplings or seedlings which are grown in a nursery would also be considered as an agriculture income. Suppose you have a nursery, you are doing a business. Okay, that is with the help of a little bit seeds, you are growing some plants and selling these plants. On that plant you are getting some income. That income also be a agriculture income and it should be treated as a exempted income. I think you got clarity regarding agriculture income. Okay, the next one, exemption under section 10 subsection 2 on income received by a copper senar from Hindu undividend family. Copper senar is nothing but he is a member of Hindu undividend family. In the previous class, in the first class, we discussed regarding Hindu undividend family. What is Hindu undividend family and who are the members and who is the head of the family, and for a head of the family what we are going to call him. Okay, he is a person, he will pay the tax. Okay, here Hindu undividend family, the share of income received from a family income or income received from an impartial family estate would be exempted from tax. See, you are a member. As a member, the karta, that is the head of the family, will give a share. These share no need to show in the income tax. Okay, it should be completely exempted and it is a tax-free income. For example, in the financial year, you earned 50,000 as a salary from your Hindu undividend family. Moreover, Hindu undividend family earn an income of rupees 60,000. Out of you received 20,000 as your share. In this case, your salary income would be liable to tax, but share of profit which you received from Hindu undividend family, that is 20,000, would be exempted from the tax. Okay, so you observe carefully. Share which you received from Hindu undividend family, that is a tax-free income. You are getting some salary. On that salary, you have to pay a tax to the government. Individually, you are responsible on your salary. Individually, you are earning on your salary, you are responsible to pay tax, but on profit, you are not responsible because the karta is paying the tax here. If you have regarding this one doubt, you can observe the previous video also. You will get some clarity. The next one, exemption under section 10 2A on profit received by a partner from a firm. If a partner receives a profit from the firm, then it should be also a exempted income. Okay, if your partnership business is a limited liability partnership, then the share of profit which you receive from the firm or a limited liability partnership would be exempted from the tax. This exemption would be allowed only on the share of profit only. Okay. Any other amount received by way of remuneration or interest on capital would not be exempted. Here remuneration, number one, interest, completely you have to show in your income tax returns. On your profit has in the form of a share, no need to show, it is a tax free. Okay. Then exemption under section 10 subsection 4 on interest received by a non-resident here. Okay, section 10 again subsection 4 is further divided into two subsections. The first one is a section 10 subsection 4 again one here, wherein interest received by a non-resident individual on specific securities or bonds and their premium earned on redemption on such bonds are allowed as an exemption. Suppose you received interest on specific securities and bonds. Okay, interest, I am saying here interest, complete it is a tax free. Then second one here, interest earned by a non-resident on the non-resident external account is allowed as an exemption. The NRE account can be maintained with any bank as per the Foreign Exchange Management Act 1999. The exemption is under section 10(4), again subsection 2 would be available to an individual who is a resident outside India, as mentioned in the section 2 class W of FEMA, or is an individual who allowed by the Reserve Bank of India to maintain an NRE account. Okay. The next one here, exemption under section 10 subsection 4b on interest paid on notified saving certificates. If an individual is an Indian citizen or a person of Indian origin, he or she is a non-resident, interest income earned from saving certificates which are issued by the central government would be completely exempted from tax. Okay, then next, the saving certificates should be notified in the official gazette of the central government, and the individual should have invested in such certificates in foreign currency or foreign exchange as specified in the Foreign Exchange Act 1973. Okay, or any other act passed by the government. However, if the securities are issued on or before 1st June 2002, the exemption would not be allowed and the interest income would be fully taxable. Regarding saving certificates here, interest paid on saving certificates by the central government completely fully exempted. Okay, the next one, exemption under section 10 subsection 5 on leave travel allowance, concession paid to an employee. Okay, you observe here carefully, very much interesting here. See, a salaried employee can claim an exemption for the leave travel allowance or leave travel concession. We call it as LTA or LTC, paid by employer. There are various rules for claiming LTC exemption, which includes the following. The actual cost of travel would be allowed as an exemption subject to the maximum allowance paid by the employer. For example, I have taken a small example. Mr. Ravi, an employee, receives LTA of rupees 50,000 from his employer. He goes on a trip with his wife and 2 kids, and the total cost of travel tickets comes to 40,000. In this case, the LTA exemption would be allowed for rupees 40,000, which is an actual cost of the journey. However, if the travel tickets amounting rupees 60,000, the exemption would have been available only for rupees 50,000, which is a maximum LTA paid by the employer. The remaining 10,000 would be taxed in the hands of the employee. Okay, under this section, only 50,000 is there based on the employer. If the employer gives what amount based on the exemption here. See here in this example, the employer is giving 50,000, but here actual cost incurred is only 40,000. So he is eligible for LTA for exemption rupees 40,000. But here in the second case here, what happens if the travel ticket amounting of rupees 60,000, then exemption is allowed only for 50,000 only. Remaining 10,000 should be taxable. He have to pay or she has to pay. Then the exemption can be claimed either when the employee takes a leave from work and travels, or if the employee has retired or left the job before traveling. The travel should be taken within India only, not outside India. This is a very important, this is a condition also. The next one, the travel cost of the family members can also be claimed as an exemption. Family members like children, parents and siblings. In the case of children, the exemption is allowed for up to 2 children after 1st October 1998. Those who are born after 1st October 1998, for them only it is allowed. For children born earlier, however, there is no maximum limit. Cost incurred on sightseeing, food, etc. would not be allowed as an exemption under LTA, because okay, when you go for a LTA, okay, leave travel allowance, here what happens, sightseeing, food, all the expenditure should not be incurred, and that expenditure is a not a tax free. Okay, if the journey is done by air, the maximum exemption would be the economy class return airfare for the shortest route taken from the place of origin to the place of the destination. The route should be nearby. Okay, if you travel on airline, okay, airline in the sense aeroplane or helicopter. Okay, here what happens here, a minimum distance will be okay taken into account. Then if the journey is done by any other mode except by the air, when there is a train connectivity, the maximum exemption would be limited to the return fare of a first class, that is AC train ticket for the shortest possible route. If the destination is not connected by train, the exemption limit would be limited to the return fare of a first class AC train ticket for the shortest possible route, assuming that the journey is done by the train. Okay, they are assuming if the train facility is not there, by bus, okay, they went, then it will be applicable, assuming that they are traveled through train only. The exemption can be taken for a maximum of 2 journeys undertaken in a block of 4 years. Okay, block in the sense 4 years will be considered. The block of 4 years has been listed by the government and it follows the calendar. That is, the year starts from January and ends in December. The current block is from January 2018 to December 2021. Block here you observe the block January 12, that is 12 months period. If 2 LTA exemptions are not claimed in a block, okay, not claimed in a block for 4 years, the unclaimed LTA can be carried forward to the next block. Okay, the chance is there, but they are not utilized. Then automatically here what happens? It is carried forwarded to the next block. However, in that case, the carried forward LTA should be claimed within the first year of the next block. For example, here you observe the example carefully. In the first block here, 2018-2021, if the employee claims only one LTA, the remaining LTA can be carried forward to the 22 to 25 block. However, the carried forward exemption should be claimed between 1st January 2022 to 31st January 2025. Okay, regarding LTA and LTC here. Okay, very few companies are giving these a chance to travel for sightseeing. Okay, including their family members. I think you got the next one, exemption under section 10 subsection 6. Okay, again here different types of incomes are there. You observe the list. Remuneration received by the ambassadors and officials of embassy, high commission or legislation, counselor, officer, trade commissioner or other official representative, and the members of staff of these officials would be exempted from tax. This exemption would be allowed if the individual are not Indian citizens and if they serve on behalf of a foreign country in India. Okay, you observe carefully. Ambassadors will be there from each and every country. Ambassadors, officials of the embassy, high commissioner, okay, trade commissioners are there. For them, completely exemptions are there. Okay, who are doing their job in India on behalf of the foreign country. Okay, moreover, the individual should not have any other source of income in India. Okay, this is a condition, and the country which the individual represent should also allow similar tax exemption to the Indian government official located therein. Okay, similarly here, how far the condition is applying for the foreign people, in the same manner, the Indian government officials, those who are working in their country, for them also exemption is there, but the condition is that they should not incur any income from their country. And for Indians and for foreigner, though who are working here in India, and there is a no any other source to earning of income from India, then they are eligible for the exemption under section 10 subsection 6. Then here another section is saying that income earned by an employee of a foreign company who is sent to India for rendering services would be allowed as an exemption. From foreign, anybody is sent, then he automatically here what happens? That should be exempted. However, to claim the exemption, the foreign company should not have any type of business in India. The employees stay in India should not be for more than 90 days in the previous year. Previous year nothing but it is a financial year. In the financial year, he should not stay more than 90 days. Then here, deduction from the income of the company, which is chargeable under Income Tax Act, okay, 1961. The next one, section 10 subsection 6, salary income earned by an individual who is a non-resident when employed on a foreign ship would be exempted from tax. However, for claiming the exemption, the individual should not have stayed in India for more than 90 days. Okay, you observe the residential status, or you can see in the iCard also residential status regarding, you get clarity regarding who will be considered as a resident. Okay, section 10 subsection 6 here says that if an individual who is not an Indian citizen receives a remuneration when training in India in a government owned institution, a central and a state government owned company, a subsidiary of a central and state government owned company, okay, or a society registered under the Societies Registration Act 186Q, that is financed by the central and the state government, the remuneration received would be tax exempt. Okay, here the persons who are trained, he is a non-resident in these institutions, completely taxed, okay, exempted. The next one here, section 10 subsection 6a, if a foreign company provides technical services to the state or central government or to an Indian company and receives an income in the form of royalty or fees for the services provided, okay, the tax might be paid by the government of company which availed the foreign company services. This tax payment would be exempted from a tax provided that foreign company provided the service as per the agreement made before the 1st June 2002. The agreement is approved by the government and the agreement complies with the industrial policy of the government. Okay, you observe carefully here, any foreign company provides a technical service to the our Indian company, okay, it should be based on their agreement before 1st June 2002. According to that agreement, in the agreement itself they mentioned clearly, okay, that is the guidelines given by that company or the agreement, then it is a completely tax free and exempted tax income, we can say. Then section 10 subsection 6b, if an Indian company or a government seeks services of a non-resident individual or a foreign company and pays tax on behalf of them, see, on behalf of them they are paying the tax, the government itself pays. Okay, when if they seek the services, okay, if they need the services of non-resident individual or a foreign company, the tax paid would be allowed as an exemption here. It would not be included in the income earned by the non-resident individual or the foreign company. Then section 10 6bb, if a foreign company or government receives income from an Indian company engaged in aircraft operations, and the income is consideration paid for buying the aircraft or its engine on lease, and Indian company pays taxes on such income, okay, the tax paid would be exempted from tax. This would be allowed if the foreign company has entered into an agreement with the Indian company on or after 31st March 1996, but before the 1st April 2007, and the agreement has been approved by the central government of India. Any foreign company or government receives income from Indian company, it should be a completely tax-free exempted income under this section 10(6)bb subsection. Section 10(6)c here it says, if a foreign company notified by the government in the official gazette receives an income in the form of a royalty or fees for technical services provided in or outside India for projects related to the security of India, the income received would be tax exempt. Okay, foreign company notified by the government, it should be noted in the list of government in the official gazette, it should be there, then only it will be considered. The next section here, income which is paid to a non-resident individual who is not a company or a foreign company in the form of royalty or fees for services provided to the National Technical Research Organization, whether in or outside India, would be exempted from the tax, because based on the agreement only we are doing. The next one here, okay, there is no slide more here. So thanks viewers, thanks for watching. So please subscribe to my channel Fine Telangana, those who are not subscribed till now. So today we are going to end this part 1. In the next class you can observe the part 2, because you observe here, you observe carefully. First is the first slide. I am what I mentioned here, exempted incomes. It's a topic, is a little bit huge topic. Okay, here in this huge topic, what happens here? We need to understand. For the understanding purpose, I have chosen in the parts here. Okay, part 1 today we discuss. In the part 2 tomorrow we are going to discuss. So thank you very much for your listening.